Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. There are moments in sports that feel bigger than a single practice session, bigger than a sideline clash, bigger even than the result of a game. What went down between Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill this week inside the Miami Dolphins facility has the fan base buzzing like never before. Eyewitness accounts suggest that during what was supposed to be a routine preparation, the two-star receivers exchanged heated words in front of teammates, coaches, and even staffers who had no choice but to look on in stunned silence. People who have covered this league for years say it wasn't the usual trash talk that happens in the heat of competition. This was raw, emotional, and unfiltered. The kind of blow-up that reveals cracks beneath the polished surface, cracks that had maybe been forming for weeks or months. Nobody really expected it. Yet now that it's happened, suddenly everyone is looking back, trying to piece together the little signs they might have missed, the body language on the sideline, the subtle comments in press conferences, the way their celebrations together had started to look just a little bit forced. Now it feels like the secret is out. For a long time, fans have romanticized the relationship between Hill and Waddle as one of the league's most electric duos, a one-two punch that defenses feared and highlight reels adored. They were the thunder and lightning of the Dolphins' aerial attack, and social media painted a picture of camaraderie that was almost brotherly. But chemistry on the field does not always translate into peace off the field, and now that this confrontation has spilled into the open, questions are exploding across every sports talk radio segment and podcast clip. Was this about touches? Was it about respect? Was it simply the pressure of carrying an entire franchise's Super Bowl hopes on their shoulders? Nobody is giving straight answers, but insiders whisper that the rift may not be about a single play or moment, but rather a pattern that's been building since Hill's arrival in Miami. Waddle, once the undisputed centerpiece, now finds himself sharing the spotlight, and sharing it with someone as loud, charismatic, and outspoken as Hill is no easy adjustment. What makes this clash even more fascinating is how public it was. These things usually get buried behind closed doors, handled in the film room or brushed off during interviews. But this was not a private disagreement. This was two of the Dolphins' brightest stars airing grievances where every set of eyes in the facility could see. Coaches tried to step in, but by then the damage was done. The image of unity had been shattered. Teammates reportedly looked on with wide eyes, some even whispering afterward about whether this was just the tip of the iceberg. It wasn't just frustration at a bad route or a botched drill. Witnesses described body language that screamed years of pent-up tension, as if each word carried the weight of unresolved disputes. And once something like that erupts in public, there's no way to pretend it never happened. It becomes part of the narrative, whether the team likes it or not, and the media has already latched onto it with both hands. If we step back and look at the bigger picture, the Dolphins are at a crossroads. This is a team that has been hyped as legitimate contenders, with an offense built to stretch defenses to their breaking point. But what good is talent if egos can't coexist? Fans are asking themselves whether this could be the beginning of a fracture that derails a season brimming with promise. It wouldn't be the first time a superstar clash has sent ripples through a locker room. Think of the classic wide receiver dramas of years past, where incredible talent was overshadowed by feuds and mistrust. The Dolphins' front office has worked hard to cultivate a winning culture, but even the strongest locker rooms can fracture under the weight of star power. The real danger isn't just the blow-up itself, but the silence that follows. Will teammates feel pressure to pick sides? Will coaches struggle to balance the playbook with locker room dynamics? These are the tough questions hovering now. Social media, of course, has already turned this into a circus. Fans are dissecting clips, pulling up sideline footage, and analyzing body language like amateur detectives. Some argue that Waddle has been visibly frustrated for weeks, pointing to moments where he seemed to celebrate half-heartedly after Hill's big plays. Others insist this is just the nature of competitive athletes. Fire, passion, heat of the moment. But the truth might be somewhere in between. In today's NFL, optics matter almost as much as results. A rift between two stars can spiral into endless headlines, which in turn create distractions that seep into every corner of a franchise. Hill is known for his outspoken personality, unafraid to stir the pot, while Waddle has typically been quieter, more reserved. But when the quiet one finally erupts, that says everything. And right now, everyone is hanging on to every detail, waiting to see if this was a one-time eruption or the start of an ongoing saga. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? Inside the building, sources suggest the coaching staff is treading carefully. Publicly, they downplay it, saying it's just competitiveness boiling over. Privately, though, there's concern. Because once trust is broken, especially between players who need to sync at the highest level, it's hard to piece back together. Quarterbacks depend on timing, receivers depend on trust, and if Hill and Waddle aren't on the same page emotionally, it can bleed into their routes, their reads, their entire connection on the field. This isn't just about feelings, it's about football functionality. Coaches can scheme all they want, but chemistry cannot be faked. The Dolphins have invested heavily in this duo, both financially and strategically, and now that investment looks shaky. The challenge for leadership is not just patching up the blow-up, but addressing whatever deeper issues caused it in the first place. Otherwise, the Dolphins risk watching their most dynamic weapon become their biggest liability. From a player's perspective, egos are always part of the equation. Wide receivers, especially elite ones, thrive on targets, on being fed the ball, on feeling like the alpha. Tyreek Hill has never been shy about wanting the spotlight, and in many ways, he's earned it. His speed, his production, his game-changing plays, they demand attention. But Jalen Waddle is no ordinary sidekick. He was the face of this offense before Hill's arrival, the budding superstar who was supposed to be Miami's offensive centerpiece for years. Sharing the throne is easier said than done, especially when the spotlight gravitates so naturally to someone as larger-than-life as Hill. The whispers say Waddle feels overshadowed, his contributions underappreciated, his role diminished in ways that sting more than the stat sheet shows. And when pride mixes with competitive fire, it doesn't take much to ignite an explosion like the one we just witnessed. At the core, this isn't just about football. It's about identity, about recognition, about respect. Fans, meanwhile, are divided. Some are furious at Hill for what they perceive as arrogance, for bringing unnecessary drama into a locker room that should be laser-focused on chasing a championship. Others blame Waddle, suggesting he needs to accept his role and recognize that sharing the field with someone like Hill elevates his own opportunities. And then there are those who believe both men are victims of a system that hasn't done enough to balance their roles and keep them equally engaged. The debate rages on talk shows, podcasts, and Twitter threads, with no clear consensus in sight. What's undeniable is that this story has caught fire, dominating headlines in a way that very few mid-season locker room dramas ever do. It's because Hill and Waddle aren't just any players. They're the heartbeat of this Dolphins team, the faces of an offense that has redefined explosiveness. When they clash, it feels like the entire franchise shakes. The Dolphins' front office cannot afford to let this fester. Championship windows in the NFL are fleeting, and Miami's is open right now. They've invested too much, sacrificed too much, and positioned themselves too carefully to watch it all unravel because two of their stars can't find common ground. Whether it takes mediation, one-on-one meetings, or even intervention from ownership, something has to give. Successful teams know how to manage personalities as much as playbooks, and this will be a defining test for the Dolphins' leadership. The stakes aren't just this season, but the long-term future of their offensive identity. If Hill and Waddle can't coexist, then hard decisions may loom. Decisions nobody in Miami wants to even consider right now. But if this incident can serve as a wake-up call, maybe, just maybe, it can be the spark that forces both men to address their issues and come back stronger, together. At the end of the day, football is as much about relationships as it is about talent. You can have the fastest legs, the strongest arms, the sharpest play designs, but if the locker room is fractured, championships slip away. What fans witnessed this week wasn't just a spat, it was a glimpse behind the curtain, a reminder that even superstars are human, with egos, insecurities, and breaking points. The Dolphins still have time to fix this, but the clock is ticking, and the entire league is watching. For now, all we have are rumors, whispers, and speculation, but those whispers carry weight. Because when Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, two of the brightest lights in Miami, let their frustration spill out in front of the entire team, They didn't just argue, they sent a message. And that message has left everyone wondering whether the Dolphins' dream season is built on a foundation strong enough to withstand the storm brewing within. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.